Hello, I'm Shelley Rothus, and I'm a different kind of victim. Okay, today's part is going to be based about coming out and my story, and how my story came to be, and what it's really about, unlike certain people are thinking. Well, actually, lied about. So, first off, the last bullying incident, as you've seen in the hate group, they were saying some really, you know, crazy ass things. Well, that's because adults can be ignorant assholes, such as Carla. I mean, I was warned about her by two people, like, every time, like, whoa, watch out for Carla. She is a liar, and she's up to no good all the time. Well, me, I believed them, but I was like, I always give people too many chances. And I seen the lies that she's done, actually, to my friend Cheryl, and even to John Paul. I actually seen the evidence. But stupid me, I still talk to her, which I should have stopped talking to her a long time ago. Because she ended up, let's just say that Ken Duh was pretty dumb to buy any bullshit that came out of her mouth. As she was talking about my ghosting video, if she had a brain, any brain cells, or even a brain, she would have realized that I had mentioned friends, that ghosting can happen with friends. See, again, people automatically think any type of, abusive behavior, they're relaying it to something as what they would see as an intimate partnership, but that's not the case. It can happen to friends too. As I had mentioned in my other coming out, I explained why I never expected anything more to ever happen between me and Ken. Even if that's where it was headed to, I know myself. I most likely would have turned it down, even though that's not even the case between me and him. I never had the thought that he wanted more from me in that aspect either. So, how does Ken play a large part in my story? I only told one person about somewhat as to how this person Ken plays a role. And basically, they are the only ones that know the most. And that happens to be my friend Anitha Knox. And she's also an author. And she's been watching closely because she actually wants to write a book about me, too, based on my story, my life story. So, okay, this is where I have to apologize to Ken. um, Basically, we were kind of like my guinea pig. I mean, it just ended up that way. I didn't plan on it, but based upon our relationship, it kind of related to my relationships in my life too, other relationships, both my friendships, partnerships, and family. All three. And I really watched closely, especially based upon what he had taught me, as in words of wisdom. Okay, so what ended up happening is that Carla ended up telling him that I'm like psycho, or I have to explain it. I had to think about it. It's like, what the heck is that? That would be somebody who's like pressuring somebody to be with them, like maybe stalking them, because they were talking about how I would go to his job or something. And, he's pretty dumb to actually believe that, because if that was true, this would have been happening a long time ago, years ago, you know? But, of course, Carla, the dumb, stupid bitch, took my ghosting video as a way to conjure up and start shit stirring, and ended up getting Ken to believe that that's what I was trying to do to him. Because she ended up messaging me, and I already knew that shit was starting. She messaged me saying, "Did you make a video to get Ken to look bad or something?" Well, Ken already knew about this. He already knew how I felt about what happened as for the ghosting. And she was making it out as though he didn't know. So she ended up being a, stupid bitch because she just wanted to start trouble, even after I told her that he already knows, as you've seen in the text messages between me and her. I said he already knows everything because he's the first person to read the story and let me know that it was okay. So, anyways, back to the parts where he became the guinea pig as to how he was placed in my real life. Now, in my story that she had read herself, if she had a brain, she would see that I did relay even relationships, others, to people in my life, which would be family members, based on my story. If she had a brain, was able to comprehend. This woman claims to have a mental health degree. Yeah. Oh my God. Imagine, see what nuts clowns are in the mental health field? Oh my goodness. Anyways, so when I met Ken, it just happened that I noticed certain things about him that were similar to my own father. But the difference is that he was not like him in certain ways, such as, yes, many people would think of Ken as being very unemotional, very untrusting, never opens up. But like it, those people were not there when we talked. He did open up a little bit, and probably more so than he did with certain others. From what I've seen when he's around he didn't act the same way. So now that's where he's different from my father. My father is an extremely unemotional person. Extremely. I can't remember one time that my father ever opened up, you know. So as a young, child, even by the time, you're a young child, you look up to your father as to who you yourself, not only in intimate partnership, but also would want in relationships. And you would probably look at your, mother too, or sibling, but I actually mainly looked up to my father because I never felt a closeness between my mother or sister like that. And the last time I felt that with my father was when I was a young child. And, I, of course, missed that, but he's, the first person I felt safe with, that I trust him enough, felt comfortable enough to ever open up as much as I did with Ken. No, that's where the difference is, too. I never had that, you know, safety feeling as to where I could open up and tell him almost anything. So that's something, you know, that was hurtful too, is because, he was the first friend that I felt, person, I should say, that I felt comfortable opening up to. And that taught me that that's something that I would want too, you know, not just with intimate partnership, if I ever did meet somebody like that, but also with friendships. I realized that that's where I went wrong within friendships too, because I had such little expectations of others. You know, I didn't expect people to, be respectful to me and also be loyal and, open up to me. And I didn't expect that from them. I expected myself to always give that. It wasn't about having trust issues. It was about, that's where Ken was wrong, is I had very low expectations because of how I was raised and who I looked up to, which was my father. And that wasn't a good role model because I ended up having a lot of bad relationships. And believe it or not, I haven't had that many intimate partnerships, and I've never had a long term one. So, as you can see, it's not really related to, you know, Ken as being just, as intimate partnerships. It's mainly about all my relationships in general. So, it's hard. There's probably going to be a part two. So, as you can see, he was kind of like my father, as he wasn't very open But also, he was, in the beginning, at times, he was more empathetic, well, a lot more empathetic than my father, before things got cold. My father, he showed just a little bit of empathy. He, like, for example, on my birthday, not last year, but the year before, there was an abuse incident. And that's when my sister came for my birthday. And we had gone out to eat because it was my choice of where we go and what I wanted to do. So we went out to eat for my birthday, and that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to go to this one restaurant. And that's where, of course, the abuse started. You know, they demanded that, I be considerate of their feelings because they didn't want to wait, for 15 minutes for a table. So, of course, you know, both my mother and sister were trying to make me feel guilty, saying that, I need to pick something that my sister would want too, because they're our guests, whatever. So, my whole birthday was ruined that day, and I was so sad about it. And the next day, what ended up happening is, so we did go out to eat to where my sister wanted, of course, but that's at the ending. In the end, my sister wanted me to pay for it because we went to a place she wanted to go to, and it ended up being an expensive place, very expensive. She was looking at me to pay for it. It was my birthday, it was my gift, but she was looking at me to pay for it. We ended up going where she wanted. I didn't even enjoy the meal. So the next day, me, with my expectations, I, really didn't expect much, but I was really hoping that that day they would make the exception to, do for me, more for me than for them, just because it was my day. So as you see, I only expected very little most of my life. And just that one day, I just wanted something special for myself to be treated equally. So I asked if we could go to the outlet mall just to hang out together, like we did this one time, many years ago. And even then, it wasn't good, I realized, and how they treated me. And, so they finally, gave in and were like, okay. But then again, they messed that up too. We ended up doing things that my sister wanted to do. And most of the day was spent for her. So at the end, I was really hurt and I was in tears and I was really upset about it. And I had my dad, I just went, I had him come in my room and I talked to him, and he could tell that I was really hurt. And he actually told me he understands and he sees why I'm upset and that I'm, right. And that at least they know not to invite my sister the next time for my birthday. My mother, of course, being the abuser she is, when I tried to tell her that I'm upset about it, she said, well, they're our guests, you need to compromise and da da da. I got a middle finger for you, mom, mother, Of course, that's how it always was with them, you know. But, of course, my dad always goes back to the ringleader, even though he sympathized with me and empathized with my feelings when he was with me alone in my bedroom with the door closed. Afterwards, that ends. And you see how that is with the situation with Ken, too. When, like I said, he defended me against certain people, but when Pootie Loop, the main cult leader, came back, that ended. Okay, so that's gonna come again. Anyways, so what I seen within Ken was not him per se. I never thought, like I said, expected anything more than friendship. The person that I thought I saw would be somebody that not only in intimate partnership but also in friendship that I would want in my life, you know, because I never got to see that within my father as to how somebody should be treated, because my father did start treating me badly before I was a teenager. So I never had that somebody to look up to as to how to be treated, or even somebody I felt safe to go to talk to, based on things that happened in my life. Because whenever I did, it got turned against me and I got shamed for it. Or he acted like he didn't really want to hear it and, kind of show me why I'm busy. Or, he did, or he was very unemotional. He didn't say much. So I'm sorry, that's where Ken showed me, not knowingly, but showed me, and it gave me the feelings of what I never had before. And it showed me what I would want in relationships in my real life. Sorry, that's getting a little hard, so it's gonna be more than one part. So, even with friendships, I realized that I didn't deserve to be treated not equal in those relationships, and that I deserved more, where I did feel safe and had higher expectations of others as to how they treated me equally. Like, they always was the one that usually was there for them whenever they needed me, but they were never there for me, even money wise and, personally wise. So those were the types of relationships I even had with friendships. Like I said, with as for intimate partnerships, I never had that many of them. And that was also, of course, because of how I felt about myself and didn't feel like I deserved it, because that's how my abusers made me feel. That's just how it ended up making me see myself. So that's the role that, Ken played in that too, as for being similar to my father, as to, and also what my father lacked in. So, as you can see, it wasn't really based upon me thinking it was gonna, that was a way, I guess, to, I don't know, amount to, I don't know, I guess they thought I was gonna marry him. I thought I was gonna marry him, or that, or expected that to happen, or something. I have no idea. But even he doesn't realize this, of how much role he played in it. So this is gonna be the ending of part one, because this is getting really hard. And again, you know, I have to apologize for him being a guinea pig. I didn't know how to explain it, and I was kind of, I guess you could say, ashamed based on what I just said, because I, mm, sorry, I lacked those, knowledge based upon relationships, and what a relationship should be, and what should I expect in a relationship. So this will end right here, and when I get up to it again, I'll go into part two, based on coming out, based upon my personal story and what it's actually about, and how that person played a huge role in it. So, I'm Shelley Rothus, and I'm a different kind of victim, and hope to see you for the next part.